Chapter 13. Stories. Haste makes waste. Teacher. Sohan, Mohan, and Vijaya. All of you are here. Very good. Sohan, when did you arrive? Sohan. I came this morning, sir. Teacher. What do you want? Should we go on with our story program as usual this evening also? Boys. Yes, sir. Teacher. All right. This time I wish to hear some interesting story from you. How many of you can tell stories? Raise hands. All raise their hands. Wonderful. This shows you are all fond of reading storybooks. Then you may take your turns. Vijay raises his hand to take his turn first. Very well. Vijay will come forward this time and give us a nice piece of story. Vijay. A hunter lived in a lonely cottage in a jungle. He had a faithful old hound named Tiger. One day his wife was taken ill. He left his child in charge of his old dog and went out for hunting. In his absence, a wolf stole into the room where the baby lay asleep. He rushed towards the cradle to devour the baby. The dog at once sprang upon the wolf. There was a fierce fight between them. At last the wolf was killed, and the faithful dog succeeded in saving the only child of his master. But during the struggle, his mouth was besmeared with blood stains. When the hunter came back, he met the dog at the door. Seeing his mouth soiled with blood, he thought the dog had probably killed the child. This idea made him mad with rage. He took an aim and shot the dog dead there and then. On entering the room, he found his child quite safe and a dead wolf lying by his side. He now understood the whole situation. He was very grieved at the loss of his faithful dog, who had saved his child at the risk of his own life. He repented and cried, but all his grief and tears could not bring the dog back to life. Sohan. Who would not like to possess a faithful dog like Tiger? But fie on the master who suspected the dog's fidelity and shot him dead there and then. What a pity. Mohan. Yes, my friend, I quite agree with you. The master was really a big fool. He was so quickly provoked simply on observing the bloodstains on the dog's mouth and lost his wits. Vichara Shakti. He did not stop to give a moment's thought to study the situation. He did not even enter the cottage to see the things for himself. Vijaya. Such passionate, inconsiderate, rash, and impatient, Asuric type of people are not rare in this world. Teacher. Excellent. I have been calmly watching your reaction and listening to your individual views about the hunter's hasty conduct. I am pleased to know that none of you spoke in favor of the master and all condemned his satanic and merciless action and his lack of faith in the dog. So bear in mind, my dear, that doubt or suspicion is our great enemy. It causes restlessness of mind. Anger and suspicion deprive a man of his reasoning power. Do you know what made the master rash, inconsiderate, and impatient to act in such a merciless way? There was silence for some time, and none could answer the question. It was all due to the master's attachment for the child. It was because of the feeling of extreme love and attachment for his only baby that he was so quickly provoked, grew mad with rage, and lost his wits or reason in no time. In that sudden fit of anger, he could not think aright. Do you know the 3 gates to hell, my boys? Boys. No, sir. What are they, please? Sohan, in a low tone. Are there any gates to hell also, like those of a king's palace? All laugh. Teacher. Well, my dear boys, note carefully that lust, anger, and greed are the 3 gates to hell. When a man becomes angry, his mind gets confused. He loses his memory and understanding. In anger, he talks anything he likes and does anything he likes. He commits murder. A hot word results in fighting and stabbing. An angry man is under intoxication. He loses his senses for the time being. He does not know what he is exactly doing. He is under the sway of anger. Anger destroys the knowledge of the self. It is the greatest enemy of peace. All vices, evil qualities and wrong actions take their origin in anger. He who has controlled anger cannot do anything wrong or evil. Resentment, indignation, fury, irritation are all varieties of anger according to degree or intensity. Mohan. Sir, you have described the characteristics of anger in detail, but is there any remedy to get rid of this dire evil? Teacher. Well asked, my dear. You seem to be an intelligent boy. I will tell you. Practice of mauna, silence, and vichara, right thinking, are of great help in controlling anger. All of a sudden, a man gets a terrible fit of anger for trifling matters. If you find it difficult to control anger, leave the place at once and take a brisk walk. Drink some cool water immediately. Anger or irritability is a sign of mental weakness. When you bring a lighted lamp or torch into a dark room, the darkness vanishes. Even so, you can and should control anger or irritability by developing the opposite virtues: patience, vichara, right thinking or inquiry, love, kshama, forgiveness, and spirit of service. Then anger will automatically disappear. Hatred ceases not by hatred, but by its opposite virtue, love only. Had the hunter developed in him even a little patience and vichara, right thinking, he would not have lost his faithful dog. You should do nothing in haste. Haste makes waste, my dear. Think twice before you act. Now you understand, Mohan? Is the whole thing clear to you? Mohan. Now I understand, sir. Having heard the story of the hunter and the faithful dog, I am reminded of a similar incident that happened with me a few years ago. May I relate the incident here in brief, sir? Teacher. Yes, by all means. Your friends will surely be pleased to hear your experiences in life and will gain thereby. Mohan. Once it so happened, sir, that I bought a beautiful picture of Lord Sri Krishna playing on flute and placed it on my table by way of decoration. One morning it disappeared from the table. I didn't know who removed it from there. I searched and searched, but all in vain. My younger sister was standing in one corner of the room and was smiling all the time I searched for the picture. I thought that she must have taken away the picture and hidden it somewhere. So, in a fit of anger and suspicion, I began to beat her there and then. She made a lot of hue and cry. Mother rushed to the spot and saved her. She scolded me severely for having beaten my sister, whom she thought to be quite innocent. In the afternoon, my father returned from his office. Then the whole situation was made clear. The fact was that the room was to be swept off the dust and dirt that day, and my father had removed the Lord's picture from the table, thinking that during the sweeping process, dust would settle on the picture. So he had put it inside his box and locked it. Now I realize that I was unduly harsh on my sister, who was quite innocent. Had I acted with a little patience and vichara, I would not have handled her so cruelly. Teacher. Very nice. Well, my boys, we are getting late now. This evening we had a nice time. You entertained us all with interesting stories and personal experiences. I hope you are amply benefited by today's talks. So, my dear boys, develop positive divine virtues: patience, vichara, right thinking or inquiry, courage, universal love, spirit of selfless service, strong will, etc. God bless you. Boys. Thank you, sir. We will do as you say. We have changed a lot. All this is due to your grace. Pride goeth before a fall. Teacher. Hello, Gopal. This morning you are all in time, I suppose. Where is Krishna? Gopal. He is just coming in a few minutes, sir. Teacher. Gopal, can you tell me who the man was with a red turban on his head yesterday and what was all that scuffle about? Gopal. Yes, sir. He is my next door neighbor. He is a very rich man, a millionaire. He is the private secretary of Munim to our venerable Seth, Nemi Chand. He had lent the poor farmer a few hundred rupees and was demanding the amount of interest from him, which the poor farmer could not pay in time, on the fixed date. Hence the trouble arose. Teacher. Oh, I see. He was threatening the farmer and handling him very badly. He boasted of his wealth, name and fame, position and influence. Did you see how proud he was of his possessions? Do you approve of his behavior? Gopal. No, sir. His behavior was not at all praiseworthy. We simply condemned the attitude he adopted towards the poor man. Teacher. Have you heard the story, All that glitters is not gold? Krishna. Yes, sir, perhaps. It is in connection with the proud stag. May I relate this story, sir? Teacher. Yes, proceed. Krishna. Begins. A young stag, as he went to a spring to quench his thirst, saw himself reflected in the blue water below. He stood still to admire his reflection. He felt proud of his beautiful horns and thought, Ah, what a splendid pair of horns I have! If the rest of my body was so beautiful, I should have been the most handsome animal alive on earth. But I cannot bear to look at my ugly thin legs. I'm really ashamed of them. Just then he heard the angry roar of a huge lion, and was off like wind. The legs he had despised carried him so swiftly that very soon the lion was left far behind. But as he was going through a thick wood, his splendid horns that he loved so well were caught in a bush, and he was held captive till the hungry lion came and devoured him. So after all, the beautiful horns, which he had admired so much, were the cause of his death. Teacher. Very nice. Now you see, boys, how the beautiful horns which the stag was so proud of brought about his death. Surely, pride goeth before a fall. As soon as a man gets some power, wealth, name, and fame, he is puffed up with vanity and pride. He thinks too much of himself and treats others with contempt. He suffers from superiority complex and does not like to mix with others. If anyone has some moral qualifications, such as spirit of service or self-sacrifice, he will say, Who can serve like myself? I am a brahmachari. I have been practicing brahmacharya for the last 10 years, and so on. Just as worldly people are puffed up with the pride of wealth, so also certain sadhus and religious people boast of their moral qualifications. Remember, my dear, this kind of pride is a serious obstacle in one's path of material or spiritual progress and brings downfall in the end. Here I am reminded of an incident from Shivaji's life. It may teach you a good lesson. Gopal. What was that incident, sir? We all are anxious to know about it. Teacher. Very well. Listen then. Once Shivaji engaged thousands of coolies to build a fort. He had the abhimana or pride that he was feeding all these persons. Shivaji's guru, Swami Ramdas, understood this. He called Shivaji and asked him to break a big stone that was lying in front of his palace. Shivaji ordered a servant to do the work. When the stone was broken, a frog that was inside jumped out. Ramdas asked, O Shivaji, who has arranged food for this frog that was inside the stone? Shivaji felt ashamed, prostrated himself before Ramdas ji, and said, O Guru Maharaj, thou art Antaryamin. Thou hast understood my abhimana when I thought that these coolies are fed by me. Now Viveka, discrimination, has dawned on me. Protect me, O Lord. I am thy disciple. So you see, boys, you should not feel proud of your achievements, possessions, wealth and power, name and fame. Remember, wealth and beauty, honor and youth fade away, but the life of righteousness will never decay. All things are God-given. Nothing belongs to us. We are nobody. We are simply instruments in the Lord's hands. We should keep up a balanced mind at all times, facing honor and dishonor, prosperity and adversity, heat and cold, pain and pleasure with the same feeling. In adversity, we should have patience to bear it, and in prosperity, we must not feel proud or elated. I think we should stop here. This will do for today. This morning we are all in a hurry, you know. God bless you. Boys, thank you very much, sir. Indiscretion has its tolls. Gopal, Krishna, Rama, and the other boys come and take their respective seats in the classroom. There is pin drop silence. Krishna whispers to Gopal, Our Guruji appears to be angry this morning. Don't you notice his frowning looks? Gopal, keep quiet, lest you should fan up his anger. All were spellbound, anxious as to who would fall a victim to his angry looks. Nobody ventured to speak. Teacher, well, boys, I'm sorry to know that some of you reached home unusually late last night. Here are letters of complaint from your guardians. Krishna takes courage and begins. Krishna, may I tell you the fact, sir, if you don't take it seriously and forgive us? Teacher, that is exactly what I expect from you. I want to know plain and simple truth. You should always be bold, honest, truthful, and straightforward in whatever you speak or do. Don't be timid. Krishna, very well, sir. Last evening, as we returned from our usual stroll in the public garden and were passing through a narrow street, a cyclist came from behind. As he rode fast, a little child came in front. To avoid the child, he turned the cycle. A vendor with a basket full of vegetables was coming from the opposite direction. The cyclist struck against him. The vendor's basket fell down on the ground and all his things were scattered. The vendor caught hold of the cyclist and demanded the price of his lost vegetables. A quarrel arose between them. A big crowd of people gathered around them. Some of the acquaintances of the cyclist spoke in his favor, while others sided the vendor. From hot words they came to blows. Their clothes were torn and they received bruises and slight injuries on various parts of their bodies. The police arrived and disengaged them after an effort. The police arrested a few of them. Unfortunately, the policemen, threatening both the parties, accepted bribes from each, with a promise to get the case decided in favor of the party offering a handsome amount. The result was that both the parties had to suffer heavy loss by paying fines and bribing the police. Teacher, did you tell your guardians all about the incident that made you reach home unusually late? Boys, yes, sir, but they doubted our statements. Teacher, all right, I shall see to it. Well, Gopal, you know why you all come here daily. Gopal, yes, sir, to learn something new every day. Teacher, right you are. So you should learn some lesson from all such incidents in life. I want to relate a similar story and I hope you will be amply benefited. All clap their hands with joy. Teacher begins. Once two cats found a loaf of bread. Both fell upon it at the same time. The loaf broke into two pieces. One piece was bigger than the other. They began to quarrel. A monkey passed by at that moment. He said, "Sisters, why are you fighting? What is the matter?" When the cats stated the case, the monkey said, "Do not quarrel. I shall weigh them in a balance for you and make them equal." They both agreed to it. He took a balance and put a piece in each pan. One piece was no doubt heavier than the other. He bit off a piece from the heavier bread and ate it up. Now the other piece became heavier. He bit off a piece from that also and swallowed it. He repeated this process several times until only very small pieces were left behind. Now the cats realized their folly and requested him to give them back their pieces. But the judge replied, "Do you think I have taken this trouble for nothing? I want my fee as a judge." Saying this, he put the remaining pieces into his mouth and ran away. Now, my boys, tell me what you learned from this story. Raise hands. Krishna, may I speak, sir? Teacher, yes, go on. Krishna, sir, we should settle our affairs amongst ourselves, if there be any. Teacher, perfectly correct. You are a very clever boy, is it not? Gopal, sir, we should not allow a third party to interfere. Teacher, very nice. You have completed the answer. So you see, my boys, indiscretion has its tolls. Now then, it is time for us to disperse. Wish you all good luck. Boys, thank you very much, sir. Selfishness and mean-mindedness leading to suffering. Teacher, oh Mohan, you have come. Where had you been for the last 4 days? Mohan, sir, I returned only this morning from Amritsar where I had gone to join my sister's marriage. Teacher, how is it that you appear dull and sleepy? Have you been unwell? Mohan, no sir, I had to keep awake the whole night because of the great rush of passengers in the third class compartment. Otherwise, the journey was quite enjoyable. I could not get a wink of sleep. Gopal. Sir, Mohan says that he experienced a very interesting incident during his return journey from Amritsar. We are eager to hear him. Teacher. Well, Mohan, your classmates are very desirous to know of your experiences. Will you like to oblige them? Mohan. Certainly, sir. I am always at their service. Begins. At Amritsar station, when the train arrived at the platform, the third class compartments were awfully packed with passengers. Somehow we got into the compartment. One passenger had occupied one full berth and stretched himself at full length. Two strong and sturdy Pathans were also standing beside the door of the compartment. They requested the gentleman to get up and make room for others. He returned a deaf ear to their request. Once again, the Pathans asked the man to make his fellow passengers comfortable, but he indifferently murmured, I am bound on a long journey, so I must have enough space to stretch my legs. The Pathans said, You have no right to make yourself comfortable at others' cost. Saying this, they both stood, one on each side of the sleeping man. He was bodily lifted and put down on the floor of the compartment. He frowned terribly and cast angry looks at the Pathans and clenched his fist but could do nothing. All the other passengers kept mum but laughed in their sleeves and enjoyed the fun. The Pathans took their seats with two other passengers on the berth. All the boys had a hearty laugh. Teacher. Well, boys, you seem to enjoy the talk very much. I give you 4 words. Mean-mindedness, selfishness, obstinacy, haughtiness. Try to pick out a suitable word that can be very well used to describe this type of man. I allow you 2 minutes to think over. Krishna. Sir, in my opinion, the man was extremely selfish. Gopal. Sir, he was not only selfish, but mean-minded also. It is quite evident that he was at fault. So instead of admitting his mistake, he frowned and grew furious. This shows his mean mentality. Mohan. Sir, I agree with my friend Gopal, but besides being selfish and mean-minded, he was haughty also, because he asserted his right to occupy the full berth and justifies his evil conduct. Sohan. Sir, I think there is no use of giving any more explanations. To sum up, he was a good mixture of all these evil qualities. He did not get up in spite of repeated requests from the Pathans. So he was obstinate also. Teacher. Very nice. My dear boys, I am very much pleased to see that you exerted your brains to your utmost. You all deserve credit for that, and all are correct, more or less. I hope you would welcome another story from me in brief, which may make the point clearer still. All boys. Yes, sir. You are quite welcome with your story. We shall be too pleased to have it. Teacher. Very well. Listen then. There was an old wicked dog. He jumped into a manger full of dry hay and barked at anyone who came near. He would not let the cattle eat hay, nor could he eat the hay himself. One day an ox came to eat the grass, but the dog jumped at him and barked him off. The ox said, Why do you prevent me from eating hay which is of no use to you? The dog replied, Since I cannot eat it, no one else shall eat it. The poor ox went away. One day a donkey saw the manger full of nice dry hay. His mouth began to water. He approached the manger and stole a mouthful. The dog growled at him and tried to bite him, but the donkey turned round and kicked and kicked. The dog received a hard kick on his mouth and ran off whining painfully all the way. The donkey ate the hay to his heart's content and left the rest for the ox. Now, boys, just revise both the incidents in your minds. You may arrive at some definite conclusions. Gopal. Now the whole thing is clear to me, sir. The dog would not let the cattle eat hay, nor could he eat it himself. This is clear mean-mindedness and worse than selfishness. Teacher. So you see, boys, selfishness degenerates into mean-mindedness. This world abounds in mean-minded people of every sort. The heart of a mean-minded man burns when he sees others in prosperous condition. He will eat sweetmeats, fruits, etc., but his heart will burn if his servant also eats the same articles. He will make great differences in serving tea or anything to others. He will keep the best thing for himself and distribute the rotten stuff to others. A mean minded man will not hesitate to poison his brother to usurp his property. He will not hesitate to utter lies, defraud a man, and rob him of his wealth. He is ready to do any kind of mean act to amass wealth. He may be a great man in society, but he will be shamelessly fighting on the railway platform with a porter for 2 paise. He will not give even a single morsel of food to save a dying man. He has a heart as hard as stone. Charity is unknown to him. Do you know its opposite virtue which everyone should cultivate? Mohan. Yes, sir. You gave us the names of so many positive virtues in previous talks. In this case, the opposite virtue is, in my opinion, nobility or generosity, charitable nature or universal love. Teacher. Wonderful. You are growing wiser day by day. All right, this will do for today. Let us disperse now for lunch. God bless you all. Boys. Thank you so much, sir. Temptation involves one in trouble. Teacher. Sohan, why do you look so gloomy today? Oh, I see tears streaming down your cheeks. What makes you so unhappy? Go to the adjoining bathroom, wipe off your tears, wash your face, make yourself calm, and then tell me what has made you so miserable. I shall see if I can be of any help to you. Sohan goes to the bathroom and returns after 5 minutes. Oh, you have come. Now tell me what is wrong with you. Sohan. Sir, this morning some of my friends took me along with them to the fruit garden nearby. The owner of the garden was not there. We all began to pluck mangoes and eat them. Some filled their pockets with the ripe fruit. Soon after, we saw the gardener coming at a distance. All my friends took to their heels, but the gardener caught hold of me, pulled me by the ears, slapped me badly, and turned me out. Teacher. Very sorry to hear all this, but I am glad that you have spoken the truth and told me everything without any reserve. I understand. So you fell a prey to the mischief played by your naughty friends. They ran off leaving you behind alone, to be beaten and insulted by the gardener. Still, it is a surprise to me that you, a good boy as you are, were tempted to accompany them. Is it a public garden where everybody can go and enjoy the fruits freely? Sohan. No, sir. It is a private garden and none is allowed there. We entered by the back door. Teacher. Entering the garden stealthily by the back door. Didn't you do something very objectionable? Sohan. All entered the same way, sir. Teacher. If all your friends fall into the well, will you also follow their example? Sohan. No, sir. I am really ashamed of myself. Teacher. Very good. Then you realize your mistake. If you were all so eager to eat mangoes, you could have waited and taken permission of the gardener. Perhaps you were so much overpowered by the temptation that you could not stop a while to think of your undesirable act and the consequences thereof. However, don't worry. To err is human, to forgive is divine. Take courage. It is all well if this incident in your life teaches you some useful lesson. Now you realize, my dear, how temptation involves one in trouble. Think twice before you leap. You took a leap in the dark, didn't you? Sohan. Yes, sir, I do realize my mistake. They forced me to accompany them, and I had to go much against my will. Inside the garden also, I warned my friends not to touch the fruits without permission, but they would not heed my warning. Teacher. Do you know the story of the rotten apples, my dear? Sohan. No, sir. Anyway, I would like to hear it because I know that the stories you tell are always interesting and instructive. Teacher. Very well. Then hear me attentively. Ahmad was a good boy. He always obeyed his parents. One of his playmates was a very wicked boy. He was a perfect loafer and always neglected his schoolwork. He wasted much of time and money. Ahmad soon got into the bad company of that boy. Ahmad's father came to know of it. He made up his mind to save his son from the bad company. At last he hit upon a nice plan. One day he gave him some good apples and told him to lay them aside for a few days. The same night the father placed a rotten apple among the good ones. 2 days after he asked his son to fetch the apples. To his surprise, he found all the apples quite rotten. He asked his father about it. The father explained to him how one rotten apple had spoiled the good ones. He then advised him to shun the company of that bad boy, or he too would be spoiled. Henceforward, Ahmed gave up the company of that bad boy. Now you see, my dear Sohan, how one rotten apple spoilt the other good ones. You understand the harm done by bad company. So be very vigilant and shun the company of your bad friends. Otherwise, you will also be spoiled. You have yet to experience a lot of ups and downs in life. The so called friends are your real enemies. You cannot find even a single unselfish friend in this world. Worldly friends come to you to get money and other comforts when you have got plenty of them. When you are in adverse circumstances, no one will care to look at you. This world is full of avarice, hypocrisy, double dealing, flattery, untruth, cheating, and selfishness. You have to be very careful, my boy. Friends come to have idle talk with you and waste your time. They will say, "Friend, what are you doing? Earn money as much as possible by any means. Live comfortably now. Eat, drink, and be merry. Let us go to talkies. Today there is a good new American Hollywood production running at so and so theater. There is a beautiful American dance. Who knows about the future? Where is God? Where is heaven? There is nothing beyond this world." All these are fair weather friends. You will get such sorts of advice from such worldly friends, whereas they will desert you in adverse circumstances. In case you marry, even your would be wife and sons may forsake you after some time. Sohan: Sir, certainly it is very kind of you to have warned me in time. Forewarned is forearmed. I shall always be on my guard. But will you tell me how to avoid these evils, sir? Teacher: I am pleased to see that you are so inquisitive to know more about life. Life is not all a bed of roses. You have to do a lot of selection and rejection work. You will have to cast off many evil traits: selfishness, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy, and retain and develop only what is good, that is, various virtues such as mercy, forgiveness, universal love, tolerance, patience, courage, strong will, etc. So, the best way, my dear, is to cut off all connections with your friends. Don't talk to any of them, however sincere they may seem to be. It is better to live alone than in bad company. Trust in that only immortal friend, then alone you are perfectly safe. He will give you whatever you want. Hear his sweet counsel from within, with one pointed mind, and follow it. Sohan: Who is that immortal friend, sir? I don't quite follow you. Teacher: That immortal friend, your real friend in need, who attends on you sincerely and who dwells in your heart, is your supreme self, the all pervading God. Sohan: You have removed most of my doubts and given me very useful instructions. Thank you, sir. Teacher: God bless you. Return good for evil. Teacher: Hello, Master Ajay. Why are you all so late this morning? Ajay: A magician was showing a few tricks by the wayside. We all stopped to enjoy the fun for a while, sir. Teacher: No matter. Let us begin then. Sohan: This morning it is my turn to tell a story, sir. Teacher: All right. Are you well prepared? Let me see how you entertain your friends this morning. Sohan: Once a rich farmer was standing at his door. A beggar went to him and asked him for something to eat and drink. The farmer abused him and turned him out. After some days, the farmer went out for hunting. The night came on, and he lost his way. He came to a hut. He went there and asked for food and shelter. The owner of the hut was a very poor man, but he gave him food to eat and a bed to sleep in. Early next morning, the poor man woke the farmer and showed him his way out of the forest. In the daylight, the farmer recognized him. He was the same beggar whom he had turned away from his door. The farmer hung down his head in shame and begged his pardon, saying, "You have taught me a lesson by returning good for evil. I shall never refuse food to a beggar again." Ajay: Sir, the farmer committed a grave sin. Instead of giving the beggar something as charity, he abused him and turned him out. He insulted the poor beggar and injured his feelings. It was a grave sin. There is no doubt about it. Mohan: It was the height of folly. His conduct shows how proud he was of his wealth and position. Had the beggar abused him in return, it would have surely touched the rich man's feelings of pride and superiority. He could not have borne the insult and would have come to blows with the beggar. Sohan. On the contrary, look at the generosity of the beggar, my friends. How patiently and calmly he bore the insult and injury done to him. He did not utter a single word and went his way as if nothing had happened. He strictly followed the principle bear insult, bear injury, the highest sadhana. He did not seem to be an ordinary beggar, but spiritually he was a highly advanced sage. His very behavior showed his divine qualities and the most noble traits in his character. He gave the farmer food and shelter when he lost his way in the jungle at night. He entirely forgot all about the bad turn the rich man had done to him a few days ago. He never retaliated, though he had a good chance to avenge himself. He was so generous, charitable, and hospitable. Vijay. My friends, you all condemn the farmer's conduct and praise the beggar for his generosity. So, according to your viewpoint, the wicked farmer ought to have been punished for the wrong he had done. Had I been in the place of the beggar, I would have taught the farmer a nice lesson and brought him to his senses. Mohan. What lesson would you have taught him, may I know? Vijaya. I would have starved him for the whole night and in the morning. Let my dog loose to chase him out of the forest. That would have been the best way to bring him to his senses. Mohan. Is this all that you have been learning from our respected teacher so far? Is this a divine way of doing things? Is this the golden rule, return good for evil, that Guruji has been teaching us all along? If a wicked person sticks to his wickedness, why should not a good man adhere to his righteous conduct? We are not going to follow bad examples and give up goodness. Don't you remember that our Guruji taught us, return love for hatred? If you are not able to do that, be indifferent, but never meet hatred with hatred. Teacher. Very good, Mohan. Your arguments are really praiseworthy. Don't you notice, boys, the reaction of the beggar's hospitality on the rich farmer? How the latter was ashamed and asked the beggar to pardon him. Not only this, he actually promised that he would never refuse food to a beggar again. This charitable behavior in return was in itself a punishment to the rich man. One should conquer hatred by love. The beggar, by his kind hospitality, by helping the rich farmer out of his difficulty, by returning good for evil, lowered and curbed the farmer's pride. What a nice way of reforming a proud man. This is the right way to make a man realize his mistake, not by letting the dogs loose after him in a revengeful spirit. That way you will only be fanning the fire of anger, hatred, and enmity. I think there are still some doubts in your minds regarding your behavior towards others under circumstances as these. Should I give you another set of instructions in this connection? Mohan. Yes, sir. They will definitely be of great value to us all for our future guidance. Teacher. Very well. Then note down and preserve these carefully. 1. Do all the good that you can, in all the ways you can, to all people you can, at all times, with all zeal, strength, and love. 2. Let mercy soften your heart. Let virtue gladden your heart. Let continence purify your heart. 3. Practice non-injury, my dear boys. If you injure any other creature, you really injure yourself, because God that dwells in you dwells in all. Only one soul dwells in all beings. Therefore, love all as your own self. Are these instructions enough, or do you want more? Boys. These instructions are simply inspiring, sir. Let us have more, if you can give. Teacher. Very well. Can you name some most familiar flowers you know? Mohan. Yes, sir, why not? Lily, rose, queen of the night, lotus, jasmine. Teacher. Very nice. That will do. Now take down. 4. In the garden of your heart, plant the lily of love, the rose of purity, the queen of the night of compassion, the lotus of courage, and jasmine of humility. All laugh heartily. Boys. This instruction, that is, gardening of the heart with flowers of divine virtues, is the best and most enjoyable, sir, which we can never forget. Teacher, I am extremely happy to find that you are so much interested in moral and spiritual discourses. 5. Humility and forgiveness are the highest of all virtues. God helps you only when you become utterly humble. Remember, my dear, humility is not cowardice, as many people think. Meekness is not weakness. Humility and meekness are indeed spiritual powers. 6. He who shows courtesy reaps friendship. He who plants kindness reaps love. 7. Anger is the worst fire. Lust is an all consuming fire. Both scorch your heart. Extinguish these fires through love and purity. Now, this will do. Tell me, boys, by turns, how you will overcome or conquer the various evil qualities. Hatred or anger by love, Sohan. Evil by good, Vijaya. Greed by liberality, Ajay. Fear by courage, Mohan. Falsehood by truth, Sohan. Pride by humility, Vijaya. Harshness by gentleness, Ajay. Worldliness by divinity, Mohan. Very nice. Most of you have given correct names of the opposite and positive virtues in column B. One thing more, and then I conclude. Mohan. It is really remarkable, sir, that you have disclosed the whole treasure of morality to us in such a short time, and in a very interesting way, of course. Teacher, God bless you all. May you all develop these divine virtues and attain Godhead. Now, can you tell me what kind of heart you should possess? Raise hands those who can answer this question. Mohan. A feeling or loving heart, sir. Teacher. Wonderful. Exactly so. You seem to be very brilliant boys. You see, my boys, you must develop a charitable or loving heart. Do you know exactly what charity means? Sohan. Sir, charity is helping the poor and the needy with money. Teacher. Very good. Not only this, but in its broad sense, charity means being useful to others without thought of getting any reward from them. Share what you have with others. In other words, charity is love in action. Every good act is charity. Giving water to the thirsty animals is charity. A kind word said to a suffering man is charity. Giving medicine to the poor or a sick man is charity. To forget and forgive some harm done to you is charity. Removing a thorn, a banana skin, or a glass piece from the road is charity. A little good thought and a little kindness are often worth more than giving a great deal of money. To serve another or to pray for another is charity. But remember one thing in this connection. Charity should be done silently. What your right hand does, the left hand should not know. You must experience great joy in giving. Whenever you see a poor man, you must offer him something. Thank him who gives you a chance to do charity. Can you say what form of charity the beggar showed or did in his dealings with the rich farmer? Write down on paper slips and hand them over to me. All begin to write, and in 2 minutes the answers are submitted. Teacher. Very nice. Mohan, Vijay, and Sohan have given correct answers. All clap their hands with joy. Mohan, you read out the answer. Mohan. The beggar did charity in the form as under. He forgot and forgave the insult and harm done to him by the farmer. Sohan. It is a new revelation to us, sir. Charity is done in so many forms we never knew. Teacher. There are lots of things still. You are yet to know more in this world, my children. Well, it is now time for lunch. Let us disperse. Hope to meet again tomorrow. Good luck to you all. Boys. Thank you so much, sir. Do unto others as you wish to be done by. Teacher. Mohan, do you like to hear stories? Mohan. Yes, sir, provided that they are interesting. Teacher. Stories are always interesting, my boy. Come on, I shall tell you one. George Washington was a little boy of 10. His father gave him a small, beautiful axe as a gift on his birthday. The boy was very pleased. He ran into his father's garden and began to play with his new axe. What did he do with the axe, do you know? With it, he cut off the bark of a young peach tree all round. In the evening, his father went to the garden. When he saw the bark of the tree cut off, he was filled with anger. He said, "Who has cut at this tree? I shall give him a good thrashing." Washington trembled with fear, but he was brave. He said, "Father, I have done it with my new axe." Mohan: Did not his father beat him, sir? Teacher: Just listen patiently to what happened later on. The father took him up into his arms and said, "My dear son, I am very pleased that you have spoken the truth. I most gladly forgive you this time." Mohan: Forgive him? Had I been his father, I would have given him a good thrashing. Teacher: Here, you are mistaken, my boy. The father forgave him because he spoke the truth. Washington never told a lie in his life. Everybody trusted him. Later in his life, he became the greatest man of his country. If a man admits his faults and shows signs of repentance with a promise not to repeat the mischief in future, he deserves forgiveness and must be pardoned. This is the divine way. Mercy, sympathy, love, compassion, forgiveness, truth, all these are divine attributes, you know. Virtues such as tolerance, patience, strong will, universal love, etc., must be developed if you want to become divine. Suppose your friend somehow happens to break your wristwatch or harms you in some way. What will you do? Mohan: He must make up the loss or suffer punishment. Teacher: Here again you are mistaken, my dear. If he feels sorry for the wrong he has done to you? Mohan: No, sir. He must compensate the loss or suffer punishment unconditionally. I won't spare him under any condition. Teacher: Suppose for a moment you perchance break his watch unintentionally, of course. Would you like to be punished or to bear the heavy cost? Mohan: No, sir, because I did not do it intentionally. Teacher: Then why do you impose such hard conditions on your friend? Do to others as you wish to be done by. Follow the golden rule. If evil or wrong is done unto you, return thou good again. Don't try to retaliate, but forgive. Be charitable, large-hearted, generous, and broad-minded. You should develop these virtues which are divine in nature. Now you understand how you should behave under circumstances as these, my dear. What will you do if somebody abuses you? Will you pay him in the same coin? Mohan: No, never. I won't mind it and will remain indifferent because just now you instructed me not to retaliate, but be good and do good in turn. Teacher: Very nice. That is something praiseworthy. Do you want to become divine or devilish? What do you want to become? A Rama or a Ravana? Mohan: I would like to become a Rama, to be sure. Teacher: Wonderful. You know, my dear, love begets love, and hatred begets hatred. If you love others, all will love you. If you develop the aforesaid divine virtues, you will grow into an ideal boy. God will love you and you will have all success. Do you know the 3 rules? Mohan: No, sir. What are those rules? Will you kindly tell me? I shall try to follow them. Teacher: Very good. You are an intelligent boy. Here then. A. What is the iron rule? The rule of savage men. If good is done unto thee, return thou evil again. This is the iron rule. B. What is the silver rule? The rule of worldly men. If evil is done unto thee, return thou evil again. This is the silver rule. C. What is the golden rule? The rule of righteous men. If evil is done unto thee, return thou good again. This is the golden rule. Now, my dear Mohan, tell me what rule you will follow and stick to. Mohan: I want to follow the last, the golden rule, sir. Teacher: Wonderful. That is a very good choice. God bless you. Mohan: Thank you, sir. Kindness brings its own reward. Teacher: Hello, Master Gopal. You look quite fresh and glorious in your new dress this morning. Come and sit down here. I want to tell you something new today. What is ethics? Do you know? Gopal. This is the first time I have heard this word. It is all Greek and Latin to me. I would request you to explain it in detail, sir. Teacher. Doesn't matter. I will make it clear to you just now. Ethics is the science of right conduct. Ethical science shows the way in which human beings should behave towards one another and towards other creatures. It contains systematized principles on which man should act. Without ethics, you cannot have any progress in this world or in the spiritual path. Ethics is morality. He who leads a perfect moral life attains to everlasting happiness. Practice of ethics will help you to live in harmony with your neighbors, friends, your own family members, fellow beings, and all other people. Krishna. What is right conduct, sir, may I know? It is not quite clear. Teacher. Well asked. I shall tell you. That act which does not do good to others, or that act for which one has to repent or feel shame later on, should never be done. That act, on the other hand, should be done for which one may be praised in society. You should do such acts as are praiseworthy and which bring good to you and to others. This is a brief description of what right conduct is. Gopal. We have been hearing these words frequently: conduct, character, and sadachara. They are a bit confusing. Do they all mean one and the same thing, sir? Teacher. Oh, you are bombarding me with question after question. Gopal. You are a mine of knowledge, sir. Teacher. So you mean to blow it up so that nothing is left there? All burst forth into hearty laughter. Anyway, I must satisfy you and clear your doubts. Conduct is one's personal behavior towards others in daily life. The sum total of one's virtues forms one's character. It is character that gives a real force and power to man. They say, knowledge is power, but I say, with all the emphasis at my command, that character is power. Without character, the attainment of knowledge is impossible. The man who has no character is practically a dead man in this world. He is ignored and despised by the community. If you want success in life, if you want to influence others, if you want to progress in the world and in the spiritual path, you must possess a spotless character. Shankara, Buddha, Jesus, and other rishis of yore are remembered even now because they had wonderful character. They influenced people and converted others through their force of character. Character is life's pillar. Character expresses itself as conduct, or we may say, one's daily conduct reveals one's character. That aspect of ethical science which treats of the modes of right conduct, moral living, and performance of duty is sadachara. To speak the truth, to practice ahimsa, not to hurt the feelings of others in thought, word, and deed, not to speak harsh words to anyone, not to show anger towards anybody, not to abuse or speak ill of others, and to see God in all beings is sadachara. Rama. Sir, character is a mighty soul force then. Teacher. Yes, my dear, it is like a sweet flower that spreads its fragrance far and wide. A man of noble traits and good character possesses a tremendous personality. A man may be a skillful artist. He may be a clever musician. He may be an able poet or a great scientist. But if he has no character, he can have no real position in society. People will despise him. In a broad sense, a man of character is expected to be kind, merciful, truthful, forgiving, and tolerant. He is expected to possess all the virtues. But if he speaks deliberate untruth, if he is selfish and greedy, if he hurts the feelings of others, he is called a man of bad character. One should try to develop a perfect and spotless character. Gopal. What are the qualifications of a man of perfect and spotless character, sir? Teacher. Your questions are very trying, isn't it? A man of spotless character should possess the following virtues. I am afraid you will be tired of hearing them, so numerous they are. I give you a few important qualifications only, such as humility, non injury in thought, word, and deed, fearlessness, charity, strong will, modesty, self control, absence of anger or wrath, envy or pride, purity and compassion to all living beings. Can you tell Rama why one should not kill or injure others? Why one should love one's neighbor? Rama, just a minute, please, and I shall try to answer the question, sir. Thinks for a while and then says, because God is one, and all beings are but His manifestations or creation. There is one self in all. So, if we injure others, we injure our own self. Teacher, wonderful. Exactly so. You seem to be an intelligent boy. Gopal, a little time is left for the story, sir. May I begin one? Teacher, very good. You have reminded me in time. All right, proceed on. Gopal begins. Once a master used to treat his slave named Androcles very badly. He beat him with a whip for the slightest fault. Moreover, he was half starved. The slave was so much tired of his life that one day he ran away into the jungle. He heard a painful cry from some bushes. He went towards it. He saw there a lion groaning. The lion was holding up and showing him his paw. A big thorn had run into his paw. The slave went near and took the thorn out. He then bound the wound with a piece of cloth. The lion felt relief. He lay at Androcles' feet, began to wag his tail and lick his hands like a pet dog. They became friends and began to live together in the same cave. A few months later, the slave was caught by his master's men. He was taken before the king, who ordered that the slave should be thrown before a hungry lion. The day was fixed. Thousands of people came to see the spectacle of the fight between the lion and the slave Androcles. The poor slave was put in an enclosure. A hungry lion was let in. The lion roared terribly and rushed towards him. But reaching near the slave, the lion recognized the man who was his old friend. The lion at once fell down at his feet, licked his hand, and wagged his tail. At this strange sight, the king and all his courtiers were filled with astonishment. The king called the slave Androcles to him. The slave related the whole story of their friendship. Hearing it, the king was so pleased that he set both the slave and the lion at liberty. Teacher, it is a very interesting and instructive story. So you see, my boys, kindness brings its own reward. Do you know the story of the kind girl? Boys, no, sir. You have excited our curiosity to hear it. It must be as entertaining as that of the slave and the lion. Teacher, once a train was passing through a jungle. It was evening. There were green fields on both sides of the railway line. Many men, women, and children were working in the fields. A girl was grazing the cattle near the river bridge. It rained heavily that day. The water in the river rose high. It cut down the banks. The bridge of the river was old. It was broken on one side. The sandy bank was washed away. The girl knew it. It was the time when a train came. The train had to cross the bridge. The girl thought that many lives would be lost. How could she stop the engine? Suddenly, a thought came into her mind. The train was running fast. No time was to be lost. She took off her red sari. She ran to the bank where the bridge was broken. She began to wave her sari above her head. The driver saw the red signal. The train had already crossed half the bridge. It was with great difficulty that the driver stopped the engine. The driver saw the danger. The guard also came there. All understood what the danger was. Lives of hundreds of people were saved. Krishna. Wonderful. She was really a brave girl. She did the noblest deed. Gopal. The girl was a true heroine indeed. She was gifted with courage and feeling of universal love. Teacher. So you see, boys, little acts of kindness, little acts of courtesy purify our hearts and makes us more and more God conscious. Rama. Sir, my mind is filled with the thought of the master and the slave Androcles. Why did the master treat the slave so mercilessly? He could have dismissed him from service. Teacher. There was a time, my dear, when men and women also were sold as slaves like animals. Rich men kept them not as servants but as slaves and treated them cruelly if they failed to satisfy their masters with their work. The masters got angry at the slightest wrong done by the slaves. They were bound to work as lifelong slaves. If they ran away, they were chased, caught, and punished heavily because they were bought by rich men and were considered as their personal property. Gopal. It was really very cruel and shameful of the masters to behave towards the poor slaves like that. How could Androcles venture to go near the lion, sir? Teacher. The lion was piteously groaning with pain and showing his paw to Androcles, who could clearly see a thorn in the lion's paw. Besides this, the lion looked gentle and moved the heart of the slave with pity. So the slave gathered courage, held the lion's paw in his hands, and pulled out the big thorn. The lion was relieved of its pain and began to wag his tail out of gratitude. Krishna. How could the ferocious lion be so kind to the slave, sir? Teacher. Animals are also very sensitive. They respond to the nature of treatment they receive from others. That is why most of the ferocious animals like elephants, tigers, dogs, and others can be tamed and trained as well. Krishna. Sir, it excites a curiosity in me to know about them and their work. Teacher. Yes, my dear, it is something worth knowing. Saint Bernard dogs are trained to find and save people lost in the snow in the Alps, in Switzerland. Red Cross dogs help ambulance parties in battles. Every Red Cross dog has bandages and dressings strapped to his collar and often a small bottle of brandy also. When the dogs find a wounded man who can help himself a little, it will stand while the man takes dressings and bandages to tie up his wounds with. If the man is so badly wounded that he cannot help himself, the dog will stand by and bark. The stretcher bearers will hear the barking, come and carry away the injured man to a first aid station behind the battlefield. Krishna. It is simply wonderful and surprising that dogs can also do such a humanitarian work. Gopal. This morning we had a long and most entertaining talk, sir. We are sorry to have detained you for so long this time and troubled you with a volley of questions. Teacher. Never mind. It is a great pleasure to me to answer all your curious inquiries. I am glad to have students of inquisitive nature like you all. God bless you. Boys. Thank you very much, sir. Regularity and punctuality. Two keys to success in all walks of life. Rama and Krishna are talking to each other in the classroom. Rama. Hello, Krishna. The examination is now fast approaching. I have completed my preparations for it. How much work have you done? Krishna. I have done nothing so far. I have been enjoying games and play. Rama. How would you pass the examination without preparation? May I know that? Krishna. I have a mind not to appear for the examination this year. Rama. I am sorry to hear of your strange resolve, my friend. Teacher enters. Teacher. Why do you look so very dejected this morning, Krishna? Rama. Sir, he does not intend to sit for the examination this time. He says that he has been very irregular in his studies. He has been enjoying games and play and has done nothing so far. Teacher. Is it so, my boy? Remember, it is never too late. There are yet 2 months for the examination. If you begin to work from today, you can make up for your deficiency. A little work done regularly will enable you to pass the examination. Duty is hard, but its fruit is sweet. You should never shirk duty for the sake of pleasure and games. So, don't worry. Cheer up, my boy. Take courage. Be up and going. Give up this idea of absenting yourself from the examination and gird up your loins to work hard. The man who is regular and punctual will get sure success in all walks of life. Have you not heard of the story of Damon and Pythias? Boys. No, sir. Teacher. Oh, it is a wonderful incident. It will give you a clear idea as to what punctuality can do or achieve. Damon and Pythias were fast friends in Syracuse, Italy. Pythias committed some crime and was condemned to death by the king. He requested for permission to visit his family and promised to return on the day of execution. His fast friend Damon offered himself as surety. The day of execution arrived, but Pythias was not to be seen. Damon prepared himself to die. He was taken to the scaffold. The people gathered there shed tears for Damon, who was quite innocent and was a sincere friend. There was perfect gloom pervading all over the place. Just then, out of the stillness, came the sound of the clattering of the horses' hoofs, and a loud voice resounded through the air. Stop! Stop the execution! The people cheered loudly as Damon was ordered to leave the scaffold, but Damon, having no family, insisted on dying for his friend. Pythias did not agree to it. The king was so much impressed by their friendship that he cancelled the order of death and himself became their friend. So you see, boys, had Pythias been a minute late, Damon would have been dead. The one important virtue that gives sure success in life is punctuality. Krishna: Sir, your talk has made me wiser than I was before. You have saved me from the wrong path that would have led me to utter ruin. I promise to abide by your advice and hope to work hard henceforth. I thank you for your good advice, sir. Teacher: God bless you, my boy. The man who is irregular and does his work by fits and starts cannot reap the fruits of his efforts. Regularity, punctuality, and discipline go hand in hand. College and school students in India imitate the West in fashion, style, cropping the hair, etc. These are all vile imitations. We should imbibe from them the important virtues such as punctuality and regularity. See how an Englishman adjusts his time to the very second. How punctual he is. They are more studious, regular, and punctual than the Indians. The number of specialists and research scholars is larger in the West than in India. Learn your lessons from nature. Mark how the season rotates regularly. Mark how the sun rises and sets, how the monsoon comes, how the flowers blossom, how the fruits and vegetables grow, how the revolution of the moon and the earth takes place, how the days and nights, weeks and months and years roll on. Nature is our guru and guide. Have regular habits in all walks of life. Be regular in going to bed and in getting up early in the morning. Early to bed and early to rise makes one healthy, wealthy, and wise. Be very regular in your meals always, in your studies, in your physical exercises, in your prayers and meditation, etc. You will have a very successful life and a happy one too. Regularity and punctuality should be your watchword. Manners and cleanliness impress everyone. Mohan, the class monitor, comes to the office to report that too much noise and disturbance is going on in the class. The bell rings and the teacher enters the class. Teacher: Well, boys, the monitor reports that you indulged freely in creating unpleasantness, breaking the class discipline, and in behaving in a discourteous manner. It is something very undesirable. This sort of conduct is never expected from such advanced students as you are. However, let us go through our usual program first, and then I shall take up the matter if necessary. This morning I am going to tell you a story from which you will learn how you should behave and what good habits you should develop. A gentleman once advertised for a young clerk to help him in his office. About 50 young men applied for the post. Many had long testimonials and strong recommendations. The gentleman selected one who had no recommendation and sent the rest away. A friend who sat beside him said, I should like to know for what reason you chose that boy. He had no testimonials or recommendations. You are mistaken, said the gentleman. He had a great many. He wiped his feet when he entered the room and closed the door after him. This shows he was tidy and orderly. He lifted up the book which I had purposely placed on the floor and placed it on the table, while others had just stepped over it. He gave up his seat to that old lame man. This shows that he was gentle and courteous. His clothes were carefully brushed and his hair was in order. He had a neat and dignified appearance. He waited quietly for his turn while others pushed each other aside. This shows he has good manners. Don't you call these recommendations? I do, So I have employed this young man. I think I have made the right choice. Mohan, you personally witnessed the disturbances that took place in the class. Would you tell me who were responsible for them? Mohan, yes, sir. Sohan quarreled with his friend to occupy the front seat and both behaved discourteously towards each other. A few books were thrown down on the floor. Some boys stepped over the books. Vijay and Sohan were pushing each other and shouting unnecessarily. Teacher, so their conduct was just the reverse of that of the candidate mentioned in the story. Well, boys, I am sorry to hear all about your behavior from the monitor. Your faces are advertisement boards showing all your inner thoughts. Just compare your conduct with that of the successful candidate in the story. Look within, find out your own faults and weaknesses, see where you stand, and then try to mend yourselves. Just mark, boys, out of 50 applicants with strong recommendations, only one who had no recommendation was chosen. Why? Gopal, because he was neat and well mannered, sir. He was tidy and orderly, gentle and courteous. Teacher, you are right. He possessed all these virtues which served him as real recommendations, on the strength of which he superseded all others and won the job. Now tell me, boys, what qualifications you possess, and what reward you expect from me for the conduct you showed in the class this morning. Boys, we are ashamed for our conduct, sir. This is enough. Kindly don't put us to shame any more. We assure you that in the future you won't hear any complaint against us. Teacher, I have every reason to trust you, because there is no virtue greater than sincerity, and sincere repentance means a lot. A sincere man is very soft hearted, frank and honest, true and free from hypocrisy. People place full faith in his words and are quite eager to take him in their service. But take this as a word of caution and warning from me. This is the age of scientific inventions, the age of fashion and false notions. People are acting according to their own whims and fancies. Evil habits of all sorts have cropped up in all, even in so called civilized societies. For example, a friend greets another friend not with the names of God, Jai Shri Krishna, Om Namo Narayanaya, but with a packet of cigarettes. He says, "Come along, Mr. Joshi, have a smoke, have a drink, a peg of whiskey, and so on." Bear in mind, boys, alcohol is such a bad devil that if once it enters the system of a man, it never leaves him till he becomes a confirmed drunkard. Alcohol is a deadly poison that destroys the brain cells and nerves. Another evil habit is smoking, which is so very common all the world over. Habitual smokers bring very clever arguments to support their case. They say, smoking keeps the bowels clean. I get a good motion in the morning. Smoking, beware my boys, brings nicotine poisoning of the whole system. Then the other evil habits are beetle chewing, drinking strong tea, coffee, etc. Mohan, drinking tea or coffee is not a bad habit, sir. Everybody takes tea nowadays. Teacher, yes, you are right there. In happy moderation, tea or coffee helps hard workers. But the thing is that man loses his willpower and finds it hard to resist falling into immoderation. There comes the whole trouble. He becomes a slave to these drinks. If he can remain as a master and can give it up at any time, there is no harm. The vast majority of persons have got the evil habit of using vulgar words always during their conversation, especially when they become excited and angry. A man of refined taste, culture, and polish can never utter any such words. So, my dear, always shun bad company of smokers, drinkers, and vulgar people. There is nothing really impossible under the sun. Where there is a will, there is a way. Very well, now let us disperse. May God give you strength and willpower enough to keep yourselves aloof from all these bad habits. Boys, thank you very much, sir. Trust in God and do the right. Teacher, Mohan, why are you so late? Sightseeing? Boys, no, sir. It was with great difficulty and gentle persuasions that we could bring Sohan to school this morning, hence the delay. Teacher, what happened to him? Mohan, Sir, he got plugged in the Hindi Bhushan examination. So he curses God and his fate. He neither eats nor drinks, neither sleeps nor rests, but weeps day in and day out, and behaves like a madman. His parents are very much worried on his account. Teacher, where is he? Bring him to me. Two boys fetch Sohan to the class. Sohan, look at me. Why do you feel so much worried? Simply because you failed in the examination and received a slight setback in the battle of life? Sohan, wiping off his tears. Sir, I had high hopes. I spared no pains, worked hard, and burnt the midnight oil to pass this examination. But as ill luck would have it, all my hopes were turned to dust, and all my efforts came to nothing. Now what should I do but to curse my fate? Teacher. Well, my boy, don't be silly. It is not becoming of a man of nerves to lose heart and lament like this in the face of trials and difficulties. God is great, and mysterious are his ways. He is all merciful. Did you pray to God during the period of your earnest preparations for the examination? Did you crave for the Lord's blessings? It is because we forget and eliminate God from our daily activities in life that pain, sorrow, and all sorts of sufferings come to us in this world to curb our ego. As a matter of fact, all these sufferings are blessings in disguise. They are the gifts of God for our purification. The adversities that come to us have a great purpose and a meaning in them. You know the proverb, to come out as pure gold, character must pass through the furnace of afflictions. Sohan, how can we know, sir, that these difficulties and troubles have some purpose and meaning behind them simply because you tell us we should accept them as such? Teacher, very good. It is an intelligent question, my boy. Suppose a man has developed a boil on some part of his body. It is full of pus, and he experiences great pain. The doctor takes up a sharp knife and wants to open it to remove the pus, the real cause of pain. The man, through his ignorance, of course, can think that the doctor is going to kill him or injure him. Really speaking, the doctor is his well-wisher and wants to relieve him of his suffering by operating upon the boil. Even so, through our ignorance, we hold God responsible for all our troubles and failures that come to us in life, and foolishly begin to curse him. Ignorance is the source of all sins. You badly need a divine dose, my dear. It was in quest of this divine dose, that is enlightenment, that Gautama Buddha bade goodbye to his parents, his beloved wife and child, and all the comforts and luxuries of the royal palace. The divine or spiritual dose has got a wonderful healing power. It is a panacea for all ailments. Sohan, Sir, what is that magic dose you speak so highly of? May I know it? Teacher, Oh, it is a simple and most effective dose, and that is, trust in God and do the right. Your case is very much similar to that of a merchant. Sohan, who was the merchant and what was his problem, sir? Teacher, a merchant was returning home from a fair with a large sum of money which he earned there. He passed through a forest. There was a sudden and heavy downpour of rain. He was put to great suffering as he was forced to spend a cold and rainy night in the forest. He grumbled and blamed God. At daybreak, an armed robber sighted him and tried to shoot him to get possession of his money, but failed, for the powder was damp. The merchant escaped. What saved the merchant from death, my boy? Sohan, Yes, sir. The heavy downpour of rain made the powder damp and proved to be a blessing in disguise, which the merchant realized later on. Teacher, So, now you understand the mystery. Failure is a better teacher than success, my dear. Henceforward, have full faith in God. Do your duty as best as you can, but leave the rest, success or failure, to the divine will. In the Gita, our holy scripture, the Lord says, Thy duty is to work, but let not the fruit of action be thy motive. I shall clear this point by citing to you another incident. Once Arjuna and the Lord Krishna went to see a rich man. He was very proud and arrogant. He did not care to receive them, to give them food or any kind of good treatment. He was extremely indifferent. Lord Krishna blessed him and said, "Let him get 5 crores of rupees." Then they went to see a poor pious old man. He had a cow. He worshipped Arjuna and the Lord Krishna and gave them all the milk. The Lord said, "Let his cow die." Arjuna was extremely surprised and said, "O Lord, I cannot understand your nature. You blessed the rich man who insulted you and cursed the poor man who served you." The Lord replied, "The rich man will do great crimes through his wealth and will directly go to hell. The poor man will give up the attachment to his cow and come to my abode quickly." Arjuna said, "My Lord, thy ways are mysterious. I now understand thy real nature." So you see, boys, God knows what is best for us. He does what is best for us. He does what is best suited to our ultimate good. His ways are mysterious. Know His divine ways and become wise. Face every difficulty and meet the battle of life with a smile, patiently and heroically. Troubles and difficulties come to you to intensify your faith in God, to strengthen your will and power of endurance, and turn your mind more and more towards God. Pain is a great eye-opener. Kunti prayed, "O Lord Krishna, give me pain always, so that I may ever remember you." So you realize, God does everything for our own good. Let not little things annoy you. Let not great gains throw you off the balance. Be always calm, balanced, and serene. Everything happens as God wills. Pain and sorrow, difficulties and failures are the gifts of God for our purification. So we must resign ourselves to His will. Surrender yourself to the Lord and do not grumble if you get into difficulties and troubles. Wise men receive with calmness whatever comes their way, good or evil. They neither welcome the one with joy nor curse the other. Even so, we should bow down to and accept with equal grace whatever comes, good or evil, believing that it has been ordained by the beloved Lord for our well-being. We should consider ourselves so many instruments through which God is working out His divine will. Sohan: Sir, when we work hard, we do so to gain something. Why should we not then expect the result of our action according to our desire and hard work? Teacher: Well asked, my boy. Suppose you want to join your sister's marriage and apply for a week's leave. Now it depends entirely on the goodwill of your officer to grant you leave. Suppose he says, "No, I am short of hands at this time. I can't spare you and grant your request." What will you do then? Will you curse your officer or resign the post? Will you feel unhappy because you failed to get leave? Can you force him or assert your right for leave due to you? Sohan: No, sir. How can I resign my job? I shall gain nothing by cursing the officer either, if he does not grant me leave. By asserting my rights, I am afraid I would be displeasing him all the more. Teacher: Very good. Then it is better for you to resign yourself to your officer's will. If you get leave as you wish, so far so good. Don't feel overjoyed at your success. If not, you need not worry. Even so, duties should be performed with firm faith and devotion to God. Duty for duty's sake. Their fruits or results being offered to the Lord. Our mind is tossed and agitated not by the work itself, but by something else. And it is our desire for the results of our action. That alone makes our mind restless. The non-fulfillment of our desires makes us unhappy. If we stop seeking the fruit of our action, no amount of success or failure can jeopardize our mind. A guilty conscience dreads its own shadow. Teacher: How have you done your papers in the examination, Gopal? Gopal: I have done my papers to my entire satisfaction. The English paper is rather stiff, but I have answered all the questions. I have done 10 questions out of 10, all quite right in mathematics. In Hindi, I am sure to secure 75% of the marks. On the whole, I expect a first class in the examination, and God willing, I might secure a scholarship. Our teacher who accompanied us to the examination hall is very hopeful of my bright result. Teacher: Very nice. So when the results are declared, will you invite all your friends to a grand feast? Gopal: Certainly, sir. I shall welcome all my teachers and classmates to a picnic. Teacher. An excellent idea, my boy. Krishna. The day before yesterday, a very disheartening incident took place in the examination hall. You will be simply sorry to know about it, sir. Teacher. Has any candidate been turned out of the hall? Krishna. Yes, sir. It happened like this. A boy had brought a few loose papers with him containing answers to certain important questions which he expected in the question paper that morning. He was busy in copying the answers from the loose papers he had hidden under the desk. All of a sudden, the superintendent announced that no candidate should keep any loose paper on or under the desk. The candidate concerned got terribly nervous, thinking that the superintendent had seen him in the act of copying. So he hurriedly folded the papers to put them in his pocket. The assistant supervisor, who was standing a few paces behind the candidate, noticed him and caught him red handed. He was immediately turned out of the examination hall. Teacher. What a hard lot. My dear, can you tell what sort of conscience he possessed? Raise hands, those who know. Krishna. Yes, sir, I know, but the word slips off my memory. Just a minute, please, and I shall tell you the exact word. Thinks deeply for a minute and then speaks out. He possessed a guilty conscience. Am I correct, sir? Teacher. Quite right, my boy. So you know the proverb, a guilty conscience dreads its own shadow. I want you all to understand things aright. These days, boys don't want to work hard. They want easy shortcuts to success and would stoop down to employing all possible foul means to achieve it. It is altogether a bad mental attitude. Bear in mind, boys, success gained by using unfair means is no success at all. Mahatma Gandhi said, "It is better to forego our goal or object than to achieve it by impure and unfair means. If you want to have success in any undertaking or walk of life, the means you adopt to get it must also be pure and not foul. Then alone can you claim to have achieved real success, worth the merit. Similarly, wealth acquired by dishonest means will surely involve us in some trouble or other, but the same obtained by honest and fair means can bring us happiness and good luck. All such incidents must be eye-openers for you all. I shall just illustrate the aforesaid proverb by giving you a nice funny story. A rich Brahmin had many servants. One day his silver pot was stolen. He suspected his servants to have done it, but could not find out the culprit. At last he hit upon a plan. He sent for all his servants. He gave one stick to each and said, "All these sticks are equal in length. Each stick is 1 yard long. But by tomorrow morning, the stick of the thief shall grow 1 inch longer than those of others." All went back to their places. At night, the thief thought to himself, "The master is a very wise man. As I have stolen the pot, my stick will grow 1 inch longer and I shall be found out. It is better if I cut 1 inch off my stick." So he took his stick and cut off 1 inch. The next morning, the master called them again to show their sticks. He saw that one stick was shorter than the other sticks by 1 inch. So the owner of that stick was caught as the thief. The Brahmin got his silver pot back and the guilty servant was dismissed. Gopal. Sir, may I tell a similar incident of a guilty conscience? Teacher. Yes, all will welcome it. Gopal. Once there was a rich cotton merchant in a town. He kept a large stock of cotton. One night, some thieves stole away a heap of cotton. He tried his best to find out the thieves, but he got no clue. An old man said to the merchant, "Give a feast to your people and I shall catch the thieves." The merchant agreed to it. When the guests were enjoying the feast, the old man shouted, "Cotton is still sticking to the beards of the thieves." At this, the guilty men unconsciously put their hands to their beards to remove it. They were thus caught in the trap. Teacher. Very good. It is also a very instructive story illustrating the same truth. A man possessing a guilty conscience can never succeed or prosper in life. He can't be bold, honest, and straightforward. Have you noticed, boys, some passengers travel by train without tickets though they know very well that they will be charged almost double the railway fare with penalty if they are detected. Only experienced persons can realize the wretched mental condition of the passenger traveling without ticket. He feels terribly uneasy. He has to be constantly on the alert. He keeps his head out of the window to watch the movements of the TTE from compartment to compartment in the running train. Because of his guilty conscience, he suffers from constant dread of being detected and penalized. If the TTE happens to enter his compartment, he hides himself in the lavatory to avoid and escape from his searching eye. After passing some time, he comes out and, to his utter disappointment and surprise, finds the TTE still in the compartment. He is asked to produce his ticket. The wretched person looks blank and pays the necessary fare with penalty. So, my boys, never avoid payment of your dues, whatever they may be. Have a clear conscience and be fearless and bold. Mutual help and cooperation lead to happiness. Teacher: what was all that singing and noise about on the loudspeaker last night, Vikram? It disturbed me a lot. Vikram: there was a marriage celebration in my neighborhood, sir. Teacher: oh, so you enjoyed the marriage festivities last night? Laughing: I am reminded of the man who became bankrupt in celebrating his daughter's marriage. Vikram: who was the man and how it all happened, sir? Teacher: a man had 4 sons. They quarrelled amongst themselves. He tried his best to make them live in peace, but in vain. After a few years, the father died. The sons still continued to quarrel on trifles, and their differences multiplied from day to day. Each earned his own living, quite independent of the others. A few years later, one of the daughters of the eldest brother came of marriageable age. The date of marriage was fixed. Narendra, the eldest brother, was in a fix as to how to make arrangements for the various ceremonies, single handed. He never expected any help or cooperation from his brothers because of their age long indifference towards one another. He thought and thought over the matter and hit upon a plan. He invited his so called fast friends and discussed the whole marriage affair with them. The friends were well aware of his strained relations with his brothers and took the best advantage of the situation. They said, my dear friend, why do you worry? It is a simple affair. Let your brothers go to dogs. We shall arrange everything. We will chalk out the whole program of marriage and will put up the best show possible. Narendra had to trust the sincerity of his fair weather friends. A rough estimate of the expenditure was made, and money was advanced to them for the purchase of necessary articles, provisions, sweets, fruits, ornaments, clothes, and other items, including the entertainment of the bridegroom's party, feasting, dance and music, refreshments, etc., etc. The marriage was over. The whole function extended over 2 or 3 days. Now, boys, you can very well guess the result. The goldsmith, the cloth merchant, the sweetmeat seller, and other petty shopkeepers submitted their respective bills. The expenditure far exceeded the estimate by double the amount. Poor Narendra became bankrupt and felt extremely unhappy and miserable. What was all this trouble due to, you know? Krishna: yes, sir. Narendra's so called fast friends played him false, cheated him, and enjoyed at his cost. Vikram: sir, they were real brothers after all. How and why could they not cooperate with and help Narendra on that important occasion of his daughter's marriage? Teacher: they badly lacked in adaptability, my boy. Egoism and pride were two serious obstacles in their way of developing adaptability. Krishna: what do you mean by adaptability, sir? Teacher: adaptability is a virtue or noble quality by which one adapts or fits oneself with others, whatever their nature or temperaments may be. This is a most desirable habit or quality for success in life. This virtue must be developed slowly. The vast majority of persons do not know how to adjust or fit themselves with others. Krishna: what are the attributes of a man of adaptability, sir? Teacher: very good. It is an intelligent question. A man of adaptability or accommodating nature has to make some sacrifice. For example, if a clerk understands well the ways, habits, and temperament of his superior and accordingly adjusts himself nicely to suit his ways, his superior becomes a slave of the clerk. A few kind words to soften the superior's heart are all that is needed. Speak gently and sweetly. Carry out his orders to the very letter, because the officer wants a little respect. It costs you nothing. Then your superior will have a soft corner for you in his heart. He will do whatever you want. He will overlook your mistakes. You become his pet. Humility and obedience are necessary for developing adaptability. A proud, egoistic man finds it very difficult to adapt himself, so he is always in trouble. A man of adaptability has to share with others what he has. Sometimes he has to bear insult and harsh words. He has to develop patience, endurance, and balance of mind. These virtues develop by themselves when he tries to adapt himself with others. Gopal. Now I understand, sir, why Narendra, who celebrated his daughter's marriage, came to trouble. Each was too proud to fit himself with his other brothers. They differed with one another in their temperaments, and none tried or cared to adapt himself with the other. Hence, mutual help and cooperation was out of question. Teacher. Exactly so. Can you tell me any other story illustrative of mutual help and cooperation? Gopal. Yes, sir. Why not? Once two sheep were passing over a narrow bridge. They were coming from opposite directions. They met in the middle of the bridge. The bridge was only a log of wood. They could not turn back. One sheep said, I am very sorry. I did not notice you coming. What should we do now? We cannot go back. The other said, You are not to blame. I also did not see you. It is my fault. I shall jump into the water and then you may pass on. The first shouted, No, do not do that. You will certainly be drowned, because the water is very deep and the current is strong. I shall lie down and you pass over my body gently. So the first sheep lay down flat and the other passed over its body very gently. In this way, both of them were able to cross the bridge. They thanked and bade each other goodbye. Teacher. Excellent. You told a very nice story which clearly illustrates mutual help and cooperation lead to happiness. So, boys, adapt, adjust, accommodate, and you will have all success in life. May God bless you. Boys, thank you very much, sir. Out of good life comes God life. Teacher. Well, boys, you have been listening to a number of moral and spiritual talks for the last so many days. I am going to put a few questions this morning to see if you can give satisfactory answers. Mohan, why is it good to help a man who is in trouble or in difficulties? Mohan. Because it will refine and ennoble our character, sir, and because the same Lord is in him also. Service of man is service of God. Practice of charitable acts, compassion, kind service, and little acts of sacrifice purify, expand, and soften our heart and prepare us for the reception of divine light. Teacher. Excellent. Your answer is short and sweet, and to my entire satisfaction. But can you define or explain what you mean by acts of sacrifice? Mohan. Sir, I find it a bit difficult to define, but I can give you a clear idea of what I mean by an act of sacrifice by quoting an incident to which I was an eyewitness. Teacher. Yes, by all means. You are quite welcome with your description of the incident. Mohan. A fire broke out yesterday in a two-storied house. The mistress of the house, after preparing the evening meal, retired to her sleeping chamber along with her children. The master of the house was not at home. By accident, a piece of cloth which was lying near the fireplace caught fire. The fire spread to a heap of wood which was lying close by, and the whole house was on fire. The mistress of the house, thinking that all was safe, bolted the door from inside and fell into sleep. The flames rose and rose, and the whole street was up. There gathered a crowd of people. They called the master of the house, but none gave any reply. Hearing a great noise outside, the mistress awoke and was horrified to find her house full of smoke and flames. She awoke her children and in bewilderment took them to the roof. She began to cry aloud piteously for help. The people tried to put out the fire with pitchers and buckets full of water, but all was in vain. Nobody cared to listen to her heart-rending cries and wailings. But a young neighbor applied a wooden ladder against the wall and leapt on the roof, and in a few minutes brought down the woman and children safe and sound. Soon after, the fire brigade arrived and began to work. It took 2 full hours to extinguish the fire. All the furniture was reduced to ashes. By the grace of God, there was no loss of life. The mistress shed tears of delight, took off her diamond ring, and offered it to the savior of her children as a reward. He thanked her for the gift, but returned it to her, saying, "We scouts do not accept any reward for our service. I have done my duty, nothing more." Everybody admired the courage and selfless service of the scout who had saved the mistress and her children at the risk of his own life. Teacher: Very good, my boy. One who saves others at the risk of his own life is a true hero, and such an act of selfless service is called an act of sacrifice. Some other people from amidst the crowd also did their bit of selfless service, trying to put out the fire with pitchers and buckets of water. But that help was small in comparison with the courage and gallant service done by the scout. And what was still more wonderful on his part? Did you notice it, boys? Gopal: Yes, sir. The most creditable and praiseworthy feature was that he did not accept the lady's offer of the diamond ring as a reward. He performed duty for duty's sake. He was a real karma yogin. Teacher: Right you are, my dear. A good deed is never lost. It purifies the heart and leads to the dawn of divine grace and divine light. Goodness makes life a blessing and brings sure success and prosperity. Feeding the hungry, nursing the sick, clothing the naked, helping the poor and needy with money, and sharing what you have with others without a thought of getting any return or reward from them are all little acts of selfless service and sacrifice. You should not lose any opportunity and do these charitable acts daily and realize the benefits yourself. Let your life be a living expression of love, sacrifice, wisdom, and courage. Can you tell me, Krishna, why is it bad to injure or kill any being? Krishna: Because the end is unworthy. It will reduce us to the level of a brute. If we injure another life, we do but injure our own life. And if we help another, we do but help our own self. There is but one life, Atman, one God in all beings. Teacher: Wonderful. Your answer is as good and to the point as that of Mohan. I am pleased to find that you have been benefited much by our daily talks. Krishna: May I tell another story, sir, illustrating the truth? Self-sacrifice is always honored. Teacher: Yes, you can, but in 5 minutes' time. Krishna: Once there was a Rajput nurse in the service of the Rana of Jodhpur. Her name was Moti. The mother of the only prince had died, so he was put in charge of the faithful nurse. One day, a party of the Rana's enemies came into the palace. They were seeking to kill the prince. Moti at once dressed her own son in the clothes of the prince and put him in his place. The cruel enemies put the child to the sword. She saw her son being slain, but she did not cry. Thus she saved the life of her master's son, the prince, at the cost of her own son. She will ever be remembered as an example of bravery, loyalty, and self-sacrifice. Teacher: Very nice. It is a simple short story. She set an example of the noblest self-sacrifice ever performed by a lady. An evil action recoils on the head of the evildoer. Teacher: Hello, Master Vikram. Can you tell me the most important moral that you have learnt from our talks? Vikram: You make me unawares, sir. I have not revised the topic in my mind. If you allow me 2 minutes, I can tell you everything. Teacher: All right. Go on with your mental revision. Vikram: Yes, now I recollect, sir. Do unto others as you wish to be done by. Love begets love. Hatred begets hatred. Am I right, sir? Teacher: Quite correct. Your memory is very sharp. Is there any other lesson left out? Vijay: Yes, sir. We should return good for evil, the golden rule. We should not retaliate, but should be large hearted and charitable. Teacher, very nice. If you keep all these ideals before you and practice these virtues, you will have quick success, and most of your problems in life will be solved. You know, my dear, life without virtuous qualities is like a desert without oasis. So let your life be a living expression of unselfish love, sacrifice, wisdom, and goodwill. If you give respect and sympathy to others, you will receive respect and sympathy in return. Vijay, can you name any two instructions out of so many you have received so far? Vijay, yes, sir. We should practice non injury. We should think twice before we act. Because haste makes waste. Teacher, excellent. You know, my dear, wounding the feeling of others, even by gesture, expression, tone of voice, or unkind words, is also injury. Righteousness is the divine path. Wealth, beauty, honor, and youth fade away, but a life of righteousness will never decay. Mohan, sir, are you not going to take up any story this morning as usual? Teacher, oh yes, that will surely come. But it is good to assimilate what you have got so far. All right, who comes forward with a nice, short, but funny story this morning? Sohan begins. Once there were three wicked men. They used to go out together in search of loot. They divided amongst themselves equally whatever they got in this way. One day they found a big stone under a tree. They thought that there would be some treasure underneath that stone. So they removed the stone and found a pit. They dug out the pit and found an iron safe. They broke open the seal. To their great delight, it was full of gold and silver coins. But it was too heavy to be carried away. They sent one man to fetch a cart. When he left, the other two companions began to talk. One of them said to the other, "Will it not be much better if we two can share the whole treasure? We two can easily do away with the third when he returns. Then each of us will have half the treasure instead of 1/3." The other man was of the same opinion. They devised a plan to murder their third companion immediately on his arrival. The third man reached the town, hired a cart, and bought some wine and sweets. He too was as wicked as his two associates. He thought to himself, "If I could get the whole of the treasure, I would be able to live in peace for the rest of my life." Thinking this, he put some poison into the wine. As soon as he reached the jungle, his two friends fell upon him and put him to death before he could utter a word. They were so very pleased at their easy success that they began to eat sweets and drink wine before putting the iron safe on the cart. The next moment, they too fell dead on the ground beside the open pit, and the treasure remained where it was. Vijaya, oh, what a tragedy! I really pity their lot. Usually they must have been sharing among themselves equally whatever they got by loot. But this time, what happened to them so that each thought of getting the whole treasure for himself? I fail to understand this sort of mentality. What made them think like that, sir? Teacher, yes, my dear, they were all birds of the same feather. This time they were overpowered with greed that brought their total destruction. Greed or craving for wealth is a great evil. Greed clouds the intellect or understanding and makes a man absolutely blind. It obscures the mind. Greed makes the mind restless. It is insatiable. There is no end to it. A greedy man is extremely selfish. He looks to his own interests and cares not a bit for others. What are the three gates to hell? Do you remember, Ajay? Ajay. Lust, anger, and greed, sir. Teacher. Very good. Greed is one of them. So now you see, boys, how this great evil, greed, works havoc when it overpowers a man. Do you know its antidote? What is the best way to conquer this dreadful evil? Mohan. Yes, sir. You explained to us the other day that one can conquer such evils by developing opposite and positive virtues. Teacher. Exactly so. You are perfectly right. So you see, contentment is the supreme wealth. It cools the fire of greed. The positive always overcomes the negative. This is the law of nature. Negative, evil thoughts cannot stand before positive, good thoughts. For example, courage overcomes fear, just as light overcomes or removes darkness. Patience overcomes anger. Even so, generosity or contentment overcomes greed, and so on. Sohan. Yes, sir. Now I understand. If each of the wicked men had felt contented with one third of his share of the treasure, this tragedy of utter ruin or destruction could have been avoided. They would have escaped that terrible fate. But greed made them blind, and each thought of enriching himself alone by getting the whole of the treasure. What a pity! Teacher. Remember, boys, if you dig a pit for others, you yourself will fall into it. There is a close relationship between greed and moha, attachment. A greedy man has got great moha for his money. His mind is always on the money box and the bunch of keys he has tied to his waistcord. Money is his very blood and life. He lives to collect money. He is only a gatekeeper to his money, so to say. The enjoyer is his prodigal son. Money lenders always fall victims to this evil of greed. They suck the blood of poor people by taking enormous interest, 25% and even 50% at times. They pretend to show that they are of charitable disposition by doing acts such as opening of kshetras, building temples, etc. These things cannot wash off the sins of merciless acts. Many poor families are ruined by these cruel hearted people. A man with 1 lakh of rupees plans to get 10 lakhs. A millionaire schemes to become a multimillionaire. There is no end to their greed. Like charity, greed also takes up various forms. A man thirsts for name and fame and applause. This is greed. A sub-judge thirsts for becoming a high court judge. A third-class magistrate thirsts for becoming a first-class magistrate with full powers. This is also greed. Do you know the story of the goose that laid golden eggs? Vijay. Yes, sir. May I tell the story in brief? My friends may be curious to know it. A farmer had a wonderful goose which laid an egg of pure gold every day. As he grew very rich, he became all the more greedy. He was impatient and could not bear to have only 1 egg a day. Hoping to get all the eggs at once, the foolish farmer killed the goose and began to search the body of the dead goose for gold. But he could find nothing. Then he tore his hair and cursed himself for his foolishness. He repented very much for the loss of the goose, but all his sorrow and grief was in vain. Teacher. Very good. It is a nice, short, and instructive story. It teaches us a man should not be greedy lest he should lose what he already has. Who was Midas? Do you know, Sohan? Sohan. No, sir. Teacher. Then listen to this story. It is something very interesting. Midas was a king. He was very greedy. He asked for a boon that everything he touched might turn into gold. The boon was granted. He touched all trees in his garden and they turned into gold. He became very happy. When he sat down to eat and touched his food, it also turned into hot morsels of gold. The poor man could not satisfy his hunger as his mouth and tongue were burnt up. And what was still worse, his daughter jumped into his lap and was instantaneously turned into a lifeless statue of gold. Now the king became most unhappy. He began to curse himself for his stupidity. He then prayed for the cancellation of the boon which was granted. So, my dear, don't be greedy. Share with others what you have. Do not cause pain or suffering to any living being through greed, selfishness, or ill will. Give up the spirit of fighting and heated debates. Do not argue. If you quarrel with somebody, or if you have a heated argument with anybody, your balance of mind will be upset. Much energy will be wasted in useless channels. The blood will become hot. The nerves will be shattered. You must try your level best to keep a serene mind always. Teacher. Now, my boys, I am afraid we are getting late for lunch. We meet again tomorrow. I wish you all good luck. Boys. Thank you very much, sir.